Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Globe Law and Business. It's a special report and it's a first-class book in its own little way. It's a paperback. It's called The Lawyer as Leader, and it's an important area for us in the 21st century. It has a subtitle, How to Own Your Career and Lead in Law Firms, and it's been written by Antonin Bess. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. I imagine it's Bess, not Bessie, but I've said Bess. Now, as I say, the book comes to us from Globe. It's part of the Law Firm Management's Insights series of special reports. Elizabeth was the lead writer on the review. We had a big discussion about the book, and we've given it this title, Business, Billings and the Bottom Line, ? This isn't all there is to leading in law firms, as argued in this special report from Globe Law and Business, because the word leading is obviously the one where the emphasis is placed. Let's have a quick look at the work first of all. Front cover, it's a very small book actually. There's the front, there's the back. Just opening it up, it runs to, I don't know, just over 100 pages. You've got some blurb about the other special reports from Globe there. We've reviewed a number of them, and they are really first-class reports. Now, this is a bit about the author, Antonin, and he comes from Freshfields Bruckhaus. His experiences as a legal learning and development specialist is really one of the most important areas. He's actually French and he lives in Oxford. That's what it says there. I don't know him, but I do know that this book is first class. Let's look at the front of the book. There is the front page, and it's got a structure. Sean O'Neill and the others have produced the series, and the blurb is there about what she and the others have done. But I do think they're very helpful. You've then got the table of contents, starting of course with an introduction. And then you run all the way through with the various points that are being made, and you then get at the back 3 appendices: self-appraisal, partner, senior, associate, career planning template, and project management. So you've got basically a lot of stuff. So this is very much a tool for the lawyer as a manager and as a leader. Then you've got the introduction. So all in all, I thought this was a very interesting and first-class book. So what do we say about it? We say this: there are lots of how to succeed in business books out there in the publishing world, but as far as the legal profession is concerned, this special report from Globe Law and Business is outstanding in our view. After all, law is a business as well as a profession, as even the most traditionally minded lawyers are bound to admit. And commercial law firms are becoming more challenging environments, says the author Antonin Bess. Having had a lengthy career as a senior partner at a Magic Circle firm, which is Freshfields, he knows whereof he speaks. All the more so because he is also an executive coach, as I've indicated, and works closely with such institutions as the Sayed Business School in Oxford, just by the station. His advice is intensely practical and doable, hard-headed yet humane. And that's really what we need, I think, in the 21st century, because we're going through very big changes very quickly at the moment. The new technology is a challenge for very many people, and we still don't know the full potential of what's going to happen as the century unfolds. We do consider that the reasonably ambitious, self-motivated practitioner, whether a barrister or solicitor, will love this book. I certainly found it fascinating to read. And as the title indicates, you as a lawyer can lead in a law firm. You can take charge of your own career and career development. And that's unlike the way things used to be, actually. So you can see there's a change. Forward planning, of course, is vital, although lots of lawyers devote little time to it, embroiled as they usually are in devising solutions to client problems, basically the day job. However, says the lawyer, says the author, it's no longer an option simply to think that a partnership would be nice, or to have no stronger guiding principle than let's see what happens. Now, as most lawyers tend to regard themselves less as team players than autonomous beings, a considerable amount of advice is offered here on essential leadership skills, including business awareness, team building, network development, and the profitable management of client matters, and of course those are that's basically the bulk of the work. Further comment, of course, is given on such issues as well-being, which is very much to the fore at the moment, and the work-life balance, which interestingly were, frankly, in the past, and I've been working for nearly 50 years, they were taboo subjects during the early stages of the author's career. Not talked about then except in whispers, but they are of course key considerations now, and I'm glad, because I think the whole way in which we look at what we're doing and who we are and who the people around us are, that gives us a better idea of where we're going and what we're going to achieve in the future. All this sounds like good news, of course, except for a note of caution from the author, who still thinks that all too often the profit-driven commercial law firm partnership remains focused on business billings and the bottom line. Now, of course, these are problems which we have to recognise, because money is money, but at the same time, the work I do as counsel is perhaps slightly different in the nature of dealing with the client direct and representing that person's position in court. It is slightly different. Obviously money comes into it, but there is the concept of being a professional. I'm not suggesting solicitors are not professional, but clearly there has to be that balance between basically the money-driven business, which is the commercial argument, as compared with the huge amount of devotion that the younger bar is now putting in, say, the criminal jurisdiction, where the money is lousy. So you can see what the balance is. Now, as a new social contract is called for, says the author. He advocates ground floor initiatives primarily from associates and younger partners to bring it about, particularly those who find themselves inspired to say what you think, articulate what they expect, and be clear and forthright into the bargain. But be careful. Remember what you're saying. Fortunately, this report is crammed full of what I would say are sensible, clear-eyed guidance as to the means by which all this can be achieved. Note, of course, the appendices, which I think are very helpful, giving the detailed templates and charts of self-appraisal, career planning and project management. Again, I really fell into the law in a different way. I hadn't really got a plan because I've had so many different jobs over the years, but I do recognise that today there are many people who will have set out exactly what they're going to do. It just didn't happen with me, but that's the way the world goes. Let me conclude by saying this. Eminently readable and based on long experience then, this special report from Globe is applicable to and certainly useful for any lawyer in any stage of a legal career, from early days to pre-retirement. We recommend it. It's well worth reading. It's not expensive, and I think it'll give you some good tips. The date of publication of the paperback came out on the 30th of April 2019, and I'm recording this in the summer. There's the paperback, nothing on the spine, and then there's the little blurb at the back. I'll just pull that out a bit. Just opening it in the middle. You've got blocked out bits, basically trying to make very specific points. This one's right in the middle of the book. This is working across borders and ways of thinking. So it's not just a question about the law, it's a question about common sense. We go here, self-leadership, getting the career you want. I mean, I come back from the 60s where everything was self-discipline. In those days, in the early 70s, where you expected to get on, and there was very little help at that time. Things have changed, because I noticed by the time the 80s and the 90s came, certainly the academic world was changing. The professional world went through a big change with the bar vocational course, of course, which I did in 1989. But again, lots of changes, and I think we settled down a bit. But then we've now got these huge changes which we're facing in the 2020s. So let's see where we go. A big thank you anyway to Antonin and to Sean O'Neill and everybody at Globe for producing this first-class paperback. Very grateful for it. These special reports are well worth reading. Thank you to all. Bye-bye.